We heard a couple of moments or so ago from Alan Smith talking about Antoine Semenyo potentially being a good fit for Liverpool in the January transfer window. He's a player that's attracting a lot of attention at the moment. We've got an update on the Bournemouth forward and his future. Let's speak to our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solokol. Good afternoon, Kaveh. What can you tell us?
Yeah, the race is hotting up for Antoine Semenyo because Chelsea have now made an inquiry to sign him. They've asked for information about the conditions of a possible deal. But before we get too carried away, we should remember that there are a lot of clubs who are interested in signing him next month. Of course, it's not often that you get a player as good as Antoine Semenyo who's available with a release clause in the January window. Now, the release clause, we're led to believe, is around £60 million, and it is valid until the middle of January. We weren't expecting Chelsea to be very busy during this upcoming transfer window, but I think it's just a situation where, you know, this player is so exceptional and he is available at what many people would say is a reasonable fee. And I think that is one of the reasons why Chelsea have made this inquiry for him.
It's interesting, Kaveh, because we talk so often about the level of recruitment at Chelsea since their new owners arrive. Alejandro Garnacho, Jamie Gittins, Estevao, Neto, all options in terms of those wide forward positions. Is this someone who is seen as a player they can't really afford to not have an interest in and not have some discussions in, given the quality of the player? And in context, it's not the biggest release clause in the world.
No, exactly. I think you make some very good points there. I think that is exactly why Chelsea are looking at this potential deal. But look, there are a long list of clubs who are interested in signing him. And we're also in this interesting position where I think clubs have to keep their cards very close to their chest because obviously they don't want to be seen to have missed out on him. And I'm not necessarily talking about Chelsea or any other specific club here. It's just that we're in this position where at the end of the day, Antoine Semenyo is going to have a choice of which club he signs for. I think pretty much everybody in the football world accepts the fact that he is going to leave Bournemouth, before the middle of January. And it's up to him to decide where he wants to go. Now, we've previously reported that Manchester City are interested in signing him. Manchester United have made a move for him as well. What is really interesting is what Liverpool decide to do, because the information we've had is that the player would find it difficult to turn down Liverpool if Liverpool were to make a move for him. So we've seen them in the past leave it very, very late. Liverpool are a club who don't like getting involved in bidding wars. You know, if they think that a player wants to come to Liverpool, they don't see any point in bidding against themselves, even though in this position, there's a simple release clause. All you have to do is pay the release clause, but who knows? You know, when it comes to personal terms, when it comes to negotiating a contract, different clubs are going to be offering different amounts, and it's going to be ultimately down to the player where he decides to go. Does he believe that, you know, his future, his development is best served at a club like Liverpool if they come in for him, or Manchester City working under Pep Guardiola, or working with Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, all the great history that club has, even though they're not in Europe at the moment? Or will Chelsea follow up this inquiry, and will he feel that his future is at Chelsea? Does he feel like maybe he wants to live in London? Does he want to sign up to the so-called Chelsea project? Interesting situation, because we don't normally see this kind of deal in January, but it's just because he's such a good player. And as you say, the release clause is pretty reasonable when you consider how much players of his quality usually move for, especially in the January window.
The final point you would make, Kaveh, is, and we will hear very shortly from Andone Iraola, that it's good business, good contractual work from Bournemouth to have this release clause that changes midway through the window, so that Bournemouth aren't dragged right the way till the start of February with this, that he will likely go in the first couple of weeks, and I'm sure Bournemouth are already in the process of looking for a replacement. No,
exactly. They have been aware for a long time that there is a strong possibility that Semenyo could leave in January. And I think there was a strong possibility that he could leave last summer. which is why, they moved quickly to tie him down to a new contract. But obviously, one of the conditions of him signing a new contract from his perspective was that it had this release clause. But again, Bournemouth were very clever because they made sure that the release clause was only active for half the window, which would give them time to replace him. And look, Bournemouth, you don't need me to tell you how well run they are and how great their recruitment is. They have been selling players in the summer to the likes of clubs like Liverpool, like PSG, like Real Madrid, and now they've got all these clubs queuing up to sign Antoine Semenyo for him. If I was a Bournemouth fan, I would obviously be sad to see Antoine Semenyo leaving, but I think I would trust my recruitment department to have lined up, quality replacements who would one day become as good as Antoine Semenyo and as valuable as him.
All right, let's get back to our top story then. Liverpool are training this hour and we will all wait to see whether Mohamed Salah is involved after that explosive interview on Saturday. They will then travel to Milan for tomorrow's Champions League clash with Inter. And there for us right now is Vinny O'Connor. Morning, Vinny. You're across all things Liverpool, of course. You speak to Arne Slot every week. But did you see this coming?
I think one thing we know about Mo Salah is if he's unhappy with something, then he's someone who's going to speak out. We saw it last season over the contract negotiations. So when Arne Slot admitted that Mo Salah was unhappy at being left out of the starting lineup, I think it was only a matter of time before Mo Salah made his feelings clear. But at the same time, Arne Slot also told us that Mo Salah was being very professional about the situation as well, getting behind his teammates. And while he was unhappy, he was showing that right professional attitude. So I don't think we quite expected the comments to come out the way they did, saying he'd been thrown under the bus, saying that his relationship with Arne Slot had completely broken down and leaving a lot of people now questioning Mo Salah's future at Liverpool. I can understand Mo Salah's point to a certain extent. His unhappiness at being left out of the starting lineup. He will point at the fact that he's still, this season, more productive than someone like Florian Wirtz, for example, Alexander Isak as well. Yet it's Mo Salah most recently. He's been finding himself spending more time on the bench. And at the same time, of course, then no one is bigger than the club. Sir Kenny Dalglish is one of the first people who said that to me about Liverpool Football Club as well. And Mo Salah, I think Jamie will probably agree with me as well, that Mo Salah, to a certain extent, has probably gone against that ethos. And that's where it'll be a disappointment to Liverpool fans as well. As you say now, the interesting thing will be whether Mo Salah is involved at training in about 45 minutes or so at Liverpool's Kirkby Training Centre as well. If he is, that would give an indication that he is going to make the trip over to Milan. The Liverpool team buses are already over here in Milan. We will see whether his spot on that bus will be filled by him or not. If he doesn't train, then that would be an indication that he's not going to travel over to Milan, and then that raises further questions about how in the future he'll be reintegrated into that first team lineup.
What do you reckon then, Vinny? Is there a way back into the team for him now, or has he possibly played his last game for the club?
It's a really difficult one to answer. I would hope that he hasn't played his last game for the club, because it would be such a sad end to a glittering career at Liverpool, given all he's achieved, the numbers that he's produced himself, and of course the trophies that he's helped win at Liverpool. It all depends about how far gone the relationship is between Mo Salah and Arne Slot. As I say, it was a surprise to us to hear that the relationship with Arne Slot had broken down, because Arne Slot had only said to us ahead of the Leeds game that his relationship with Mo was still strong, and obviously Mo Salah was showing a professional attitude as well, and not just getting behind his teammates, but knuckling down to the hard work. It is a shame as well, because we've seen his numbers drop off. But again, I go back to the point that I made earlier. He's not necessarily the worst performer in this Liverpool lineup at the moment. But at the same time, no one is undroppable as well. And if Arne Slot feels that it's the right decision to take Mo Salah out of the firing line at any given time, then it's up to Mo Salah to work his way back into the side. I think what it would need is a bit of contrition from Mo Salah towards Arne Slot, and then a bit of hard work, and then to start showing the kind of form that would see him, you know, a regular starter once again in that Liverpool side. Remember, prior to the West Ham game, he made 53 consecutive Premier League starts. So again, I can understand Mo Salah's disappointment. But right now, if the bridges are going to be mended, then it needs contrition from Mo Salah and Arne Slot as well to be forgiving, I suppose.
I reckon you're going to be talking about Salah quite a lot today, Vinny. Thanks very much. Right, we've had so many people get in touch about Salah and his situation at Liverpool. Let's hear a voice note from Alex.
I actually agree with Salah. You know, there's other players in the team like Konate who have played poorly. Like Gravenberch recently has played poorly. They're not being dropped. You know, so why is Salah being dropped? Why is he being singled out? I do think Arne Slot should go before Salah.
Slot go before Salah.
The thing is, he's talking about other players, and obviously Konate is the big talking point in terms of performances this season. He's been way off it. But they haven't got anyone else to replace him.
Got Joe Gomez.
Yeah, I know, but Joe Gomez, I don't think Arne Slot thinks he's good enough. Szoboszlai has gone and played out on the right for Salah. Szoboszlai's a top player. I don't think... Look, I like Joe Gomez, but I don't think Arne Slot has been willing to take Konate out of the team to put Joe Gomez in there. He played him at right back, and I think they looked a little bit more solid, and I think that was more the issue. Look,
Gakpo's not been playing well. He's been starting lately.
Gakpo's not been playing well. I think he's done all right. I mean...
Salah's done all right. He's got four goals and 3 assists. It's not terrible.
I know, but Salah's put... Yeah, but you've got to look at the whole thing with... Salah is... He's goals and assists. He doesn't give you anything else in terms that he will cheat, he'll stay out on the right, he won't track back, he doesn't really necessarily work hard for the team because that's what he's been allowed to do. So if he's not... When you watch Salah play, he can be non-existent unless he's on the end of something or unless he's making something happen. And I think any manager is allowed to look at the team and say, right, we're not performing well. We're trying to create this new team, this new ethos. Who can I take out of it? Right, you know what? Salah's not been great this season. I'm going to give him a rest. I'm going to take him out. You said he started 57 consecutive games before the West Ham game. Any player's entitled, the manager's entitled to say, I'm going to take you out for a couple of games.
But then to not use him, and again, they don't even win, they draw.
Yeah, because his attitude probably stinks. You know, obviously his attitude in training is probably... We've seen he's not took it well. He's sat on the bench with a massive balaclava over his face. And as the manager of Liverpool, you're going to say, hold on a minute. Do you know, we're a team here. We're meant to be fighting together. You know, and if your attitude stinks and you're sulking about being left out once in probably 2 seasons, well, they ain't going to use you. I'm going to put someone else on. Who wants to run around for the team, who wants to make something happen. No player is bigger than Liverpool. No player is given any right to start a game. If you're in a performance-based industry, you perform at the highest level, and if you don't, you're in jeopardy of losing your place in the team. If a manager decides to take you out of the team, take him out of the team. The question mark for me is Arne Slot. Now, we can talk about Salah and we can talk about the situation with him and how he's come out, and I think he should have dealt with it better. Can Arne Slot deal with superstars? That's my big question. Arne Slot, for me, is struggling to deal with top